And we're going to get our Illinois YPN Work Your Brand event going right now. I do have a few housekeeping items to go over before we turn it over to our moderator. First and foremost, welcome everyone. We are just so happy to see so many Illinois Realtors, including folks from all over the country. Thank you so much for joining us today. I have a few notes of logistics for our attendees listening in. This event is being recorded and will be made available after the event. We recommend having the webinar in speaker view for optimal viewing. Everyone is muted in order to minimize any background noise. If anyone has a question during the presentation, there is a question box in the lower part of the screen. Type your question in there and I will be monitoring them. We will try and do a Q&A from the audience towards the end of the program. Be aware of the fact that all in the room today are in the real estate brokerage business and as such are competitors. Competitors must compete and must always avoid anti-competitive behavior. Here are some fundamental rules to live by. 1, make independent business decisions for your individual companies. 2, always avoid conversations with your competitors about fee amounts, commissions, splits with co-ops, splits for your company's licensees, denigrating business models that are different than yours, and colluding to boycott other competitors or service providers. 3, comply with License Act rules, Code of Ethics, and other applicable statutes. We are a regulated industry. We can gather to discuss prudent practices within the structure of the License Act and applicable regulations. We can also discuss how Illinois Realtors can serve you in a practical and legal manner. So let's get into the program. Our moderator today is Eddie Ruettiger, the 2020 chair of the Illinois YPN, a realtor with Baird & Warner in Plainfield, and the 2020 president-elect of his local board, the Three Rivers Association of Realtors. He is an active member at both the local and state levels, and we will sum it up as a long list of involvement with numerous committees throughout the years. So welcome, Eddie. I will turn everything over to you to get started.
Thank you, Megan. And how are you doing in your location with this whole separation? Megan?
Oh, doing okay. Getting used to the new normal.
Getting used to the new normal. Wonderful. Well, as Megan said, thank you so much for joining us. I was really excited when we made a decision to make this event virtual. I know each of these panelists have so much insight to offer. Branding is more important than ever in today's real estate market to make yourself stand out authentically in real. And no one better than these three panelists who are nationally known experts. So let's get into the discussion. First joining us, we have Rebecca Donatelli, who served on the National Association of Realtors YPN Advisory Board and is founder of the Rebecca Donatelli team with McDowell Homes Real Estate Services in Cleveland, Ohio. In 2019, she was named to Realtor Magazine's 2019 class of 30 under 30. She has built her brand to become recognized on social media in Cleveland area and has built relationships with other successful agents around the country, many of whom have sent referral business her way, sharing daily stories about her life and engagement with clients on Instagram. She has led to becoming an influencer status and has over 14,000 followers. Welcome, Rebecca. How are you?
Good. How are you guys? Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for coming. Give us a little more about your background.
Yeah. So I actually just realized this week that next month will be my 5th year anniversary as a realtor, which is crazy. It doesn't feel like 5 years. But thank you for the wonderful introduction. As Eddie said, my name is Rebecca Donatelli. I am team lead and founder of the Rebecca Donatelli team here in Cleveland, Ohio with McDowell Homes Real Estate Services. Last year, on top of 30 Under 30, I actually launched a speaking consulting business, RD Seminars and Consulting, and have been fortunate enough to travel around the country. Not right now, obviously, everything is virtual, but otherwise, to help other realtors build their businesses through social media specifically, which has been wonderful for me as well. I also sit on the NAR YPN Advisory Board. I represent Region 6 and get to do a lot of traveling for that as well. So I'm really glad that we can be here virtually together to continue to learn.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Rebecca. Next, we have Mabel Guzman, who is National Association of Realtors, Vice President of Association Affairs, a past president of the Chicago Association of Realtors, and realtor with at properties in Chicago. Within the industry, she's respected for her professionalism and telling it like it is, honesty, and reputation in building. Passionate about her role in the real estate in public policy, Mabel has represented over 1 million realtors on the national level, testifying before the U.S. House and Senate committees on issues important to the industry. She is considered to be among the industry leaders who will help shape a positive future for the real estate industry. Mabel, how are you today?
I'm great, Eddie. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. So give us a little bit more about your background.
Well, first I want to say hello to everybody. Sorry we can't be in person, but this is really the second best way that we can all connect. And I want to thank you and Illinois Young Professionals Network for hosting this panel. But, you know, and also I'm glad to be on this panel with Sam and Rebecca, who are two very impressive leaders in the industry to talk about, you know, branding. For me, yeah, and we all know that it's crucial to protect your brand. For me, my experience has been really about collaboration, right? So it's all about collaboration wherever I can. And then I looked at opportunities where I could make a difference. So it wasn't more that I was looking to be somebody, I was looking to do something. So that's where actually I've been known. And if you speak with President Vince Malta, yeah, I'm very tell it like it is, no BS, which he's told pretty much everyone, and so is everyone else. And I guess it's really about it, right? That you have to be your authentic self. And when someone asks you a question or you need to say something about something that's troubling you, you need to be real with people. And that's really what it comes down to. You can't have one persona somewhere and then a persona somewhere else. You have to be true to yourself, because when you're true about who you are, other people will then say, yeah, this is someone that I have confidence in and that I can trust. So branding also goes to who you are and how people perceive you and the impact you make in your profession and your industry.
Excellent. Thank you, Mabel. And last but not least, someone that I sympathize with when you have an R for a last name, we have Sam Powell. Sam serves as a governor of Women's Council of Realtors for Illinois and is a realtor with Dreamtown Realty in Chicago. Sam is passionate about making industry better through educating the consumer. Definitely something up my line of the road. If you have worked with her or not, peer-to-peer sharing, whatever the company is, she's always sharing tons of information out there. And her volunteer work in her local community is outstanding. She's received countless awards in the real estate industry, most recently named the 2019 Chicago Agents Who's Who in Chicagoland Real Estate. Thank you so much for joining us today, Sam. How are you?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm awesome. Hopefully it'll remain a little quiet in my condo as there are 3 dogs laying in a bed in a room next to us. I'm in a loft space, as many of us throughout the Chicagoland. So it's amazing to be in this virtual space with you guys, and it'll be interesting to see what kind of lives happen around us while we're on screen together. I don't promise anything, but it turns out almost every time something happens that we get to deal with in a way. It's super fun. So I'm super honored to be here. I feel and have felt for a really long time that our gift back to the industry is sharing our knowledge, our mistakes, things that we've tried and succeeded at, is, you know, raising the bar in our industry by being willing to share our talents side by side, arm in arm. Mabel is a huge, beautiful example of that in my small circle, having been a part of volunteerism with her and going head to head in amazing conversation and dialogue, because she for sure is one of those that is not afraid to say, wait, time out. There are other sides to this conversation that ought to be heard. So it's honor and pleasure to be here with all of you. Rebecca, great to see you remotely. I've heard amazing things about what you're up to. So proud to be here with you guys.
Wonderful. Thanks, Sam. All right, let's get into this with this rock star panel we have today. They are pros on bringing the best success tips for building a brand, both offline and online. So I want to start off with the very first question, and that is, let's talk about first the evolution of marketing and your brand. How have you shifted your brand over the years? And maybe even right now, how have you shifted your brand in our current state of real estate? And I think we'll start with Sam, since she got to introduce last.
Hi, thank you. So I started in real estate in 2002, and I was an early adopter of wanting to sort of personalize who I was in the marketplace and sort of speak to a niche market, for lack of a better term. And so early on in my career, I wanted sampowell.com. No surprise, right? And that was taken by a law firm out of Kentucky, of all places. So I had to get a little creative. And a super good buddy of mine, I'm going to give her a shout out, Stephanie Weston, who's here in Chicago. She said, how about Ask for Sam? So she gets true credit for the askforsam.com evolution in that regard. And so I started this whole campaigning concept around promoting my real estate, persona using askforsam.com. What you'll see interesting on my screen is there is no askforsam.com there. And through the evolution, I learned a couple of things early on in my career, that when you leave your outgoing voicemail and you say something like, hi, this is Sam Powell, you've reached my virtual office, whatever, people oftentimes would hear Pam Powell. So instead of hearing this is Sam, they would hear this is Pam. And so for many years early on in my career, I also owned the URL askforpam.com that would forward to askforsam.com, because I just was heartbroken about missing out on potential opportunities there. And then a couple of years ago, I had an interesting experience where I had sold this family a home. Years later, fast forward, they wanted to resell it and couldn't find me. So through every fault of my own, I didn't stay in touch with them in the rightful and just way. And they knew Sam, they knew to look for Sam, and Sam's a realtor in Chicago, but they weren't real apt to using technology or Google as an example. So they actually called the company I was working for at the time, which was companies ago for me now. And they had the best Zappos of experience in that phone call. They basically said, hey, we work with this agent. Her name was Samantha. Does she still work for your company? And the brand said, she doesn't. I know we have no Samanthas in our company right now, but let me pull up the entire multiple listing service of all Samanthas, read off the last names, and see if any of these are your kids. And sure enough, they got to Powell, and they're like, yep, that's her. So no surprise to you, more prominent in my brand is Sam Powell, so that it's easier for you to find me in searching for me, because Ask for Sam was not enough information for the first 15 of my 18 years in this industry. So just quick and dirty evolution in that. And then I have a team, me and a couple of guys just recently last year started a team brand called Pride Home Chicago. So we're super excited to launch that in our marketplaces and sort of build a name and reputation in Chicago together as a team.
Excellent, excellent. Mabel, tell us how your brand has been moving through and the evolution of it over the years.
Sure. I started 22 years ago. So one thing that wasn't around 22 years ago is social media. So with that said, I was already in the business. I am a person. If you do not have Facebook, do you exist? Yeah, you do. You do. The thing is, you have to, however you exist in the real world is how you should exist on social media as well. So there has to, again, it goes back to the authentic self. Whatever you've been conveying all those years prior to any social media activity, or even now when you're interacting with people, it can't be two different stories. There has to be a level of consistency, right? Because it goes back to, people are going to read that as you're not real or that you're not forthcoming, therefore it's a trust issue. The other thing that I've shifted, not only going into social media, but it also has been more advocacy. I even say I'm an advocate. You're a realtor advocate, meaning pretty much I'm going to advocate for you on the deal, whether you're selling, whether or you're buying, right? And I even have clients saying that, you really advocated for me on this transaction. So also the story that I want to convey about myself, I have to make sure also that they convey that story to other people when they refer me. I say belly to belly, which, some people are like, oh, geez, I remember actually I was castigated for that like years ago, because everyone was like, oh, the internet leads and all that stuff. I just felt those leads were really unreliable. But the leads that I found really consistently reliable are the ones that were referred to me. So belly to belly really meant a lot. And that means really building a relationship professionally with individuals. So I stay consistent with that. I still do that. Somebody wants to go see something. I don't have a problem with that, but we're going to meet. And you're going to meet me, and you're going to find out how I work, because maybe this is not a good fit. So now in this circumstance with this pandemic, I'm doing buyer meetings through Zoom, and that's how it's happening. I use share the screen, show all the documents that I email them in advance. So again, another shift. I'm still doing the things I'm always doing. I'm just using a different platform to convey who I am and so I can maintain that level of consistency. So they're like, you know what? Nothing's really changed here. We're getting the same information, and this is someone we can trust.
Absolutely. So Rebecca, the biggest question I look at when we're talking about the evolution of a brand, how do you get to 14,000 followers? I know that's what the biggest question ever. How do you evolve to that? Because that's what everybody's probably wondering right now for you.
Yeah, I do get asked that quite often, actually. And what I really try to let people know is that, obviously it's not something that happens overnight. I started my real estate Instagram account right at my first year anniversary, if you will, in real estate. I got into business at 24. I was just about to turn 25. I did have a pretty successful first year. I was Rookie of the Year at my company. I had a pretty solid first year, but I was realizing by that point that I needed to figure out another way to stand out. And when I started the account, I really didn't have any intention of actually making it a real business generator or brand builder, essentially, for me. It was just a hobby. I love real estate and I love photography on the side. So it was a great place for me to share my love for both. And as I started sharing that, I started realizing like this could actually become something. People were engaging with me. They were wanting to chat with me. I was building relationships with people. And so I said, this is what I've been looking for to really build my brand and be able to stand out, especially going to listing and buyer consultations up against agents that have been around for 20 plus years. They had a big book of business behind them. My first year maybe did 24, 25 transactions. And I was still trying to figure out how to say, I'm the person that you need to connect with and work with. So I really started making it a point every single day to be on there, follow people, put out content that I thought they'd be interested in. I basically did what any new agent is told to do when they get in the business. You write out your sphere and you contact all of them. So I basically did the same thing on Instagram. I followed my entire sphere. I followed local bloggers, sports, people in the sports industry. In fact, one of the biggest food bloggers in Cleveland is one of my current clients right now. We connected through Instagram. Developers and builders in Cleveland I connected with, many of whom I've worked with, and really just grew that following by constantly chatting with them, engaging with them, wishing them a happy birthday, even if I didn't know them. If it was an agent around the country, I'd give them a little push if they posted a listing. I said, great listing, it's going to sell quick. I didn't know, if it was priced well or not, because I'm not in their market, but just kind of giving them that extra little, encouragement. And slowly but surely, the following started to build.
That's amazing. All right. So what are some of the tips do each of you have for starting out and the marketing respect to each of the areas that you're covering? We have Mabel, who is the vice president with NAR. We've got Rebecca, who's got a huge social media presence. And then Sam, who just loves and knows everyone. And I have to be honest, if you're at any Illinois events, Sam knows everyone. How do each of you learn to market yourself early on? What would be some tips that you would go from that? And we'll start off with Rebecca on this.
Sure. So for me, it really honestly was the social media. I just started pumping out content, really trying to connect with as many people as possible. Again, I was young, I was new in the business. I really didn't, know much other than social media. And I knew real estate. I knew, or I was getting to know real estate, but I knew photography. And so I really just kind of started sharing that with people pretty early on. And it did build my brand a lot quicker than I thought, and gave me some wonderful opportunities that I never honestly thought possible. I also got involved on the industry side of things with YPN. about the end of my first year in the business. And so when I started sharing that side of things, and then I was elected to sit on my board of directors, and I kind of started sharing that side of things too, a lot of people really took to that because they can see that I have a voice in this industry, and I can also talk about that on top of just real estate sales. And so I use social media as a great platform to share kind of both those sides to things. I love, I shared that I was in Miami for President's Circle, and I had people asking me, what were you doing in Miami for work? So it allows me to kind of talk about that side of things too, and really connect with people a little bit more. So it's really just about putting yourself out there, showing who you are, people getting to know you. It's not about the sales. People don't care about the sales. They want to know who you are. And my goal is for people to trust me before they even know me. Perfect example, I had someone reach out to me on Instagram last Thursday or Friday. They said, hey, I've been following you for a while. I have to buy a house with my husband right now. We need to go this weekend. And I feel like I already know you, and I'm not interested in interviewing anybody else. And I just got them under contract over this weekend. So it's a great way to just share who you are and allow people to trust you.
That's amazing. Moving to someone that's extremely involved and definitely, I would say, a mentor of my own. Mabel, let's talk about your brand, and your involvement with the National Association and how you built that up.
Okay, well, at National, I think it was pretty much that I was seeking to make a difference. So for me, volunteering or participating in a committee wasn't really getting something on a resume. It was really about making a difference. If there was an issue that was really kind of I was passionate about, or I felt like, what, they don't really have the right they don't see my perspective in this conversation. I want to share that perspective. So I would even go to committees that I wasn't on, and I would sit in the room, and then when there was an opportunity to ask a question, because I knew the subject matter was going to be about something like, they don't know this about this issue. And I would raise my hand, I would say something about it. So, and people appreciated that, right? They're like, yeah, we didn't really think about that. So it's really more about, and then that kind of involvement, people are like, wow, that person is very prepared. And even when I became a chair of a committee and eventually liaison, and now vice president, your vice president of Association Affairs, it's really about being prepared. So when I meet with my clients, it's that level of preparation as well, right? Where they're going to meet with me and I already can anticipate the questions they're going to ask. So that's really what it is about. It's about having a presentation that is solid. It's based on facts. You have good data, good storytelling, and you have a lot of anecdotes that you can go with it. So it's the same thing that when I do a presentation for my client, that I'm also in front of a national stage or at a committee meeting at NAR, I'm doing really basically the same thing. I am doing a presentation based on facts, data, and some stories to share with everyone. So because it's really an educational process. I see myself as an educator and a facilitator, and that's across the board, whether it's, my realtor family or if it's my clients or any other thing. And there's a big responsibility with that as well, because then people come to you, all of a sudden you are that resource. So you have to be ready, right? I may not have the answer for you now, but I tell them, I didn't hear about that. Can you give me a day to research this? And can we talk about it tomorrow? And they're like, yes. So then all of a sudden I research all this stuff. We have a conversation the next day. I mean, they could have done the same thing, but it's sort of, I feel like I'm their little personal Wikipedia, Realtorpedia, where they can go to me and they have a question. And they're like, we know that you're going to do it the right way, because the level of information that's out there is very confusing. And when it comes to a real estate question, there's only so many ways that you can answer it, because this is based on data, facts, and anecdotes. So that's really where I've developed, I guess, sort of that persona of that I want to be an expert. And because I want to be an expert, I need to study and I need to be prepared and anticipate any kind of question, especially my clients have, or if I have to do a presentation nationally, I'm doing a deeper dive, because I'm thinking that I'm in that audience. And I know I already have 5 questions based on this presentation that I'm supposed to give that aren't even answered, but I will have those answers. So it's being that prepared for someone. And that's that's why people are like, you know what? I have realtors call me. I want to talk to you about something. Do you know? I'm like, yeah, no problem. Clients, friends, they're like, there's my Wikipedia. I need to call her. So
I know you're in my circle, and I've had to call you on condo stuff because you're so good with condo issues and things along those lines. Where would you say someone should start, though? Because obviously they're not going to probably want to just, especially if they're 5 years or less in the business, right at the national level.
So I got to tell you, when I started cold calling. That's what I did. I know it's like old fashioned. You know, there was horse and buggies when I started in this business 22 years ago. There was no social media. There was none of that stuff. We still had real estate books. Can you believe that? And we had DOS programming for like MLS. I mean, yikes. You know, but anytime there was a change, you have to adapt, right? So what I did was, well, if this is the way things are, how am I going to start this business? So I reached out to people I knew, number one. And then I did do cold calling for listings. And I got to tell you, the first year was a little struggle, but in my second year, I listed 14 properties cold calling. So not bad, right?
No.
That doesn't suck. So, but why? Because I said, I need to get coached. If I'm not good at this, I need to be able to then be prepared again. Not so much scripted, but pretty much prepared. Because the question they're going to ask me is about, again, the community. What do you know? What has closed? Data, stories. It's consistent, right? Data, facts, stories. That's been consistent. And in that cold calling, and then after 14 listings, I just kept doing the same thing, you know. And then all of a sudden I was like, I really don't have to do this anymore because I really have a lot of good people that are referring me business. So now if I cold call, it's for a specific property, for a specific client, and we get the deal done. Dollars are a little different because they're looking at land. Research is a little more intense, but I kept a lot of that in my wheelhouse or in how I do business. Again, research, be prepared, and that's really what amounts to success. I mean, 22 years in the business, you know, I feel like such an old timer, but but you know what? I feel vital and young because every transaction is different. Every situation is different, and there's a new opportunity all the time, you know. When we had foreclosures, I represented banks. You know, now I represent rehabbers. I represented builders. So this business is fantastic to stay young, to stay vital, and to just keep moving forward. You know, there's so many paths in this community, and I think that's the amazing thing about it. But
So Sam,
pick up the phone, use your social media like Rebecca did. Start with something to start connecting with people.
I remember actually when I started having the Sidwell book handed to me, and it's about that thick, and it's like 123 Main Street, 124 Main Street, 12, and my first managing broker said, start calling. So I know exactly what you're talking about on the Sidwell book. It would probably break most people's in tables today because they probably haven't seen that book. Sam, what are some tips for you that you would give if you were starting off today?
Well, I have to say, I started in 2002, and if you know me today, I'm known to be like this paperless agent that will smack your hand if you approach me with paper or touch paper in my presence. But I have to say, back in 2002 when I started, my degree is photography. So Rebecca, we have a passion for photography together. And so I had some graphic design background, photography background, and no sales history to speak of. And I'm also not from Chicago. So I moved to Chicago in 2000, working for a .com. It gets .bombed. And then we end up, I'm now unemployed. So I start my real estate career right immediately during unemployment. So this is what I did. I created a little flyer that had a photo of me because I wanted I wanted me to resonate with people because people are going to want to work with somebody who they can relate to in a way. And I was openly gay at the time. I know I don't wear I'm a gay face, so that makes it pretty clear to people that I'm approachable. I'm just kidding. So my branding was clearly out and open and comfortable in my own skin. And every month I would walk up and down the streets of two of my favorite communities here in Chicagoland, Lakeview and in Andersonville. And my first week out, I went in and introduced myself to every shop owner I possibly could. anyone that had a community bulletin board, I got their permission to put one of my flyers up on their bulletin board and simply asked, can I put a new flyer up every month? Because every one of them has a rotation on when they clear off those boards. So every month I'd go get a Starbucks coffee. I'd walk up and down the streets that were my favorite. And then it became super efficient. Walk in, put a flyer up, walk out, move along. And that's how I sort of introduced myself to the marketplaces where I wanted to draw attention from the consumers that might possibly want to buy in that area or move out of that area. And ironically, one of my first at-bats in my career was an ad designer for a company, and she liked the style of my flyer. So the first voicemail I got, like a 5-year-old giddy kid, was, hey, I saw your little flyer. I'd love to sit down and meet with you. I'm looking to buy a property. And I like lost it. I was just like, no way, this actually works. This is so super fantastic. And so what it felt like looking back is engaging with your, guerrilla marketing in a way, but engaging with your community in a one-on-one kind of opportunity, right? So putting yourself out there. And I would go to these couple of restaurants every month, and they would be like, we were wondering when you were going to come back because all of your flyers were gone. And people were asking, were there going to be new flyers coming in because they didn't pick one up when they had a chance the last time. So anyway, long story short, so this is pre-social media, and as soon as social media hit, me being a tech nerd anyway, my degree is out of the Rochester Institute of Technology, so I have this love and passion for all things tech. I was an early embracer and adopter to the Facebook world and environment. And so I would, like if Rebecca was going to be a potential customer of mine, I would find her on social media first, ask her to be a friend on social media first as sort of a precursor to us having a real face-to-face. So we'd have a digital face-to-face first. She'd either accept it or not, which would be a red flag or not, reading into that or not. I could learn a little bit more about her, find ways that we could be relatable so that when we did meet face-to-face, I don't do well with small talk. But if we can have real talk about real conversations quickly, it's a game changer. So if I know Rebecca has a dog, I can be like, hey, man, I saw your dog Harry on Facebook. How awesome. I have 2 dogs too, whatever. It just allowed for a more authentic small talk conversation because I don't handle rejection well. So you reaching out to me to ask me to meet is helpful. And if you don't accept me on Facebook, I'm not going to give up right away, but at some point I'm going to ask, like, hey, I'm trying to follow you on social media. Did my request get buried somewhere? Because I felt some kind of way about that willingness or lack of willingness to engage in that platform since they had an account and I had an account. So then fast forward very quickly, getting involved in our industry, which I didn't really do. So start real estate 2002, start volunteerism in like 2009, 2010. So there was a gap where I was just tunnel vision, working on my business. And then I raised my head up above the clouds and was like, there's got to be more to this industry than just me feeling sort of solo and alone and on an island. Like I have stuff to contribute. I want to share with peers and be a part of something in a bigger collaborative way, not unlike Mabel. I want to make an impact and make a difference. So I started getting involved in the Women's Council of Realtors here in Chicago and Illinois. And I started volunteering for a women's tackle football team here in Chicago. And then slowly, because I was a big chicken, like this confident kid you see in front of you today was not the kid who would be doing this interview in 2002. In fact, I would have said no to the interview because I would have absolutely felt like I have nothing to contribute. I have nothing to bring to the conversation. And when I ordered business cards for the first time, I legit looked at them like, who in the world am I possibly going to give a single one of these to? I've never sold a piece of real estate. Why would anyone trust me? So that took some, baby step successes for me to get some confidence, to grow confidence in an industry I had no background in. So the first client I ever sold a property to was this lesbian police officer couple. And it was kind of the best experience I could have ever had because they're a lot like me, a lot like you, Mabel. They no filter, like here's how it's going to work. Here's how this relationship's going to be. And they gave me the best advice on things to do and not do when I'm walking through properties that I don't know who's in there or what I might find behind a door or in a basement. And so the learning curve was super fun and energizing right out of the gate, where those around you, your peers and your clients, help you, sort of jump over those roadblocks a little bit faster. So anyway, fast forward, in Facebook, I was an early adopter of not only asking people for friendships, but in building relationships with my peers, locally for sure, for starters, and then slowly trickling that out around the country, because we do interact with each other in these community-based volunteerisms that we do. So Women's Council, we're obviously national, Illinois Association, the National Association. If you have a fear with connecting with your peers around the country, that's something to really take an internal look at, because we do this business together, and the ability to collaborate and learn from Mabel through the years and not reinvent the wheel is kind of magical to me. So what I want to do is show people. I have one class that I teach, and it's if I knew now what I knew, if I knew then what I know now. And it's a lot of that conversation about, if I could go back and start over, what would I have done differently? From a marketing perspective, I probably would have started it out the same, but perhaps because I was a big chicken at the time, I would have tried to force myself into more engagement in those communities at a hyper local level faster. I think that would be my advice, is don't wait 5-7 years to engage in your industry and within your community. Right out of the gate, push yourself. But to do that, maybe bring a buddy. Because even for networking events, I'd go to a networking event, maybe Mabel would be there, and I'd go pony up to the bar, get a soda or drink of my choice, drink my drink, go home, check the box on my to-do list. I went to a networking event. Where are my referrals? What am I doing right or wrong here? And so early in my career, I would get a buddy to take me to a networking event, because I would be a big chicken to walk up and introduce myself, who felt I was a nobody, to myself, to introduce myself to someone like a Mabel Guzman in a room. And so it took me having someone else handle that hiccup for me, because then there's no rejection. When they walk up and they're like, hey, they know this lender, and they're like, hey, and this is Sam. So if you have those hangups, like all human beings have, if you live in fear from time to time, or start a career and you're scared to death of it because you don't know what you don't know and you're afraid to mess up, align yourself with people who have been along that journey before you, because they will help you navigate the same fears that we've all had in our own way. I mean, I'd love to hear Mabel's stories about some fear-based stuff, because I, of course, look at her like she's never had fear, came out of the womb like she is today. And I know with certainty that because I didn't, there's a strong chance, Rebecca and Mabel also had to navigate, this self-acceptance and self-evolution. And there was a small period of time where I actually started wearing business suits, because I was told that's what I needed to do to be successful in this industry that I'd come to love. And after a week, I was just like, to heck with that. That's not me. It's not authentic. I'm not comfortable. And if I'm going to wear this every day, I'm just never going to leave my house to meet another human being, because I'm not comfortable in my own fabric skin anymore. And so I went back to, wearing what makes me feel comfortable and confident. And that's the key for me, is, being yourself. And when you are, and you have the knowledge and the data, and you've done the research and you've learned it, when you speak from confidence about stuff that you know internally, it's the game changer for real.
So I'm going to give you 30 seconds. What was on the flyer when you were posting them up on the coffee shops and the stores?
Well, it was just a photo of me, and I've always sort of had this campaign concept of real people, real answers, real estate. And so it was, basically just trying to engage in dialogue with people about questions they might have about any of that. So it was just me. It was like a large business card, for a lack of a better term.
Okay, very, very cool, very cool. All right, so now we got an idea of what each of your individual brands are. How does that brand now impact your business? And we'll start with Mabel on that. How does the brand impact your business?
Very positively, I have to say. People see me as an advocate. So also when it comes to issues that are happening in DC, I'll even have clients call me, hey, this thing is happening. Do you know what that's about? Especially when it comes to property issues. And we'll have a nice chat about it. Luckily, I do know about it. So then, I'll tell them, like when SALT was done away with in Illinois, that was sort of like a big deal. So we talked about that and some other strategies that they can do. So moreover, on this SBA loans, I'm getting a lot of calls. Right. So we talk about it, even for my kids, so it's sort of like being able to be a conduit and also direct them. if you don't have the answers. Because if I don't have all the answers, I'm going to say, I'm going to give you some resources where you can even ask additional questions, where I'm going to connect you with someone who actually processes these loans. And you could ask them all those questions, or if you need help, I'll stay with you and we'll talk about, let me know what portion of the application or whatever you don't understand. I went through the application process, so I felt like, okay, I kind of get these questions. So it's like, they refer to you for a lot of these issues. But not only that, do you have a plumber? Do you have an electrician? Do you have a really good contractor? I have a whole list of people and resources that I share with other people. Sometimes I actually come in a bind and I'll call up another realtor, as I did like Sarah Ware the other day, because all my cleaning services were not working. And I was, do you know anyone who's still like cleaning houses? I mean, I just need this place cleaned up. I just need to get it on the market. So it's not only having resources to share, it's also building a network so you have areas that you can go to and get those resources. So that's really what it's about. It's a network, right? You have your network of clients where they see you as this flow through of information, but then you have your network of friends, and especially business associates like Sam, Rebecca, you, Eddie, Megan, all of you, people watching online, and you're like, you know what? I talked to them about that thing. I'm going to reach out to them because they may have somebody, or my electrician is busy, but so-and-so I know mentioned that they have a really good electrician. Let me reach out to them. That's how you start building resources, by connecting with each other. And then for me, I mean, that's been the strength of my brand, where they reach out to me and I'm like, I am their solutions officer. That's what I am. I see myself as a solutions officer. They have an issue and it's a problem for them, but for me, it's an opportunity to show them how I can help them. So then again, when they refer me to somebody, they're like, you know what? This girl can get it done. There's something going on. Doesn't seem like it's stressful or it's not working. It works. She'll get it done, or she'll tell you bail. Either way, I'll exhaust every possible opportunity I can to keep something together. And then they feel like we did everything, So yeah, felt good to walk away from this thing, and then they stay with you. And then when they tell their friends, again, they're like, she fights for you. She's on your side. This is why you need to work with this person. So again, it's about the consistency. And then being that resource. I mean, they'll text me out of the blue. Oh, hey, we're like here. Do you know where we should go to lunch? Oh, okay. I'm like, where's here? And I'm like, okay, I know that area. Oh, I went there. Here, go here. But guess what? This thing, just opened up. And then it's like, you're like their personal Google. I mean, it's all good. I enjoy it because then it's like because guess what? Now I have a follow-up conversation with them. Did you like it? What did you think? By the way, if you're over here, you should also try this. So by them reaching out to you, by asking you a question, is also an opportunity to follow up on the services that are the people that you recommended. And do they need anything else? So it's like, it's this little ping pong. It goes back and forth, and it's excellent. So, and then in the middle of a transaction, which is great, they always refer you to somebody else. Or if you help them with a situation, they're like, a friend of mine is starting to look. So you're at top of mind, and that's really what it is. It's about staying top of mind so that they don't forget about you.
Excellent. So I want to keep this moving faster. We're going to pick up the pace a little bit and see if our other two panelists have anything they want to add when it comes to how their brand has impacted their business.
Go ahead, Rebecca.
Yeah, I'll just say, I really leveraged my brand and I'll kind of play off of what Mabel said, is that, I've leveraged my brand so that people get to know me, especially using social media. I want them, like I said, to be able to trust me and feel comfortable reaching out to me for anything before they've even met me. And so one thing that I joke about, anyone that knows me knows that I love coffee. I drink so much coffee. In fact, the last blog post I wrote for NAR was about how coffee has actually helped me build my brand online. And if you want, I can share the link for you if you guys want to read that. It's called How Starbucks, I think I entitled it How Starbucks help me build my brand, and I'm not talking about the caffeine or something like that. And so I drink so much coffee that it ends up in a majority of my posts. And so people were starting to refer to me as this Cleveland realtor who loves her coffee. And agents around the country would tag me in pictures with coffee in them who I don't know. So guess who they'd send referrals to when they needed somebody in Cleveland? The Cleveland realtor who loves her coffee. I've gone to coffee shops in Cleveland, local shops, where the baristas, this has happened twice to me, the baristas say, oh, hey, I follow you on Instagram. I know who you are. You love coffee. And I'm like, that's right. I love coffee. So I've been able to leverage that to really be able to stand out in the Cleveland market. If anyone needs anything, they know that they can come to me. Everyone knows also through my brand that I have a network of agents nationwide. So pretty much any city, any state, I have friends through NAR that I know I can go to and call pretty much anywhere. Or if I don't know someone, I can just go on Instagram and find somebody for them pretty easily. So that's really how I've been able to, leverage my brand for my business.
And I'll just, to keep this going for you, Eddie, I'll piggyback on that and say, I'm for sure one of those kids that loves to market my personal brand, like wear it on everything. Even my glasses are actually branded to say askforsam.com on the side. I don't know if you can see it, but I also have my word of the year, which is integrity, embossed inside as well. So I love being able to be on 100% of the time, but I feel like real estate is a lifestyle. And so if you choose to partake in it in that way, I encourage that. If you choose to compartmentalize your personal life and your business life and have business hours, I respect that, mad respect for that self-control and discipline too. I prefer to, be active and alive and share who I am at all times. So it's just part of my authenticity. This is me 1,000% of the time. And so I also love working remote. So that's one of the things that has sort of been a little bit different for me is now I'm always working with my green screen behind me, where before I could work from a recliner, from the dining room table, from the couch, from the island. And I find during this pandemic, I really prefer to be in this space and have kind of compartmentalized where I'm only here and working for a certain amount of time. But anyway, so my phone case is branded, my laptops, I currently have 4. I'm working down to 2 because I'm replacing 2. Anyway, long story short, which sadly also means I have to replace my monitor, which I'm super excited about because that bad boy is going to be a beast. But having your brand on your person or on your technology, if I'm working at a Starbucks or a local coffee shop, it says, ask for Sam, right? And it says I'm a realtor, clearly branded a realtor. And another tip that I'll give away is my hotspot, which I'll always be on my own hotspot, even in a Starbucks environment. And partly for this reason, if you go to check out the Starbucks hotspot, it will say askforsam.com-realtor as the name of my hotspot. So now you can see there's a realtor in the room. And if you glance around, you'll see the laptop that says the same thing as the hotspot did. And I find in airports, restaurants, bars, coffee shops, I'm approachable and engageable because I put it out there that I'm approachable and engageable. So don't be afraid to do that. Rebecca mentioned using your, NMobile about resources like plumbers, contractors, blah, blah, blah. I'll take it one step further. I use Facebook. Facebook's my go-to platform. And I will use Facebook to get that person that I don't have. So I'll ask all of my peers, and I don't just isolate it to Chicago, because I'll make the ask of all of my peers across the country, because let's face it, there are some companies that have a national presence. So I don't want to avoid or limit the conversation in where these resources are going to come from. I've also used Facebook twice in 1 year when my yellow Volkswagen Beetle at the time had some electrical issues and the battery kept dying. And I would put on Facebook before roadside service, hey, it's Sam Powell. Obviously they knew because I'm making the post. I am stuck at the corner of blah and blah with a dead battery. Is anyone nearby that can come and jump my car? And I kid you not, both times, first time it was a client of mine, a different police officer, but a client of mine rolled up and we're nose to nose, and she couldn't get her hood of her car open to jumpstart. So she made the best of intentions to be there and help, and we had to get someone else to help us get her car open so she could help me anyway. And then the second time it was a realtor who actually was like, listen, I live in the neighborhood, and came right over and jumpstart my car with me. So the power of that tool as a communication tool, as resources in our industry and outside of our industry, is amazing and awesome. And you can also curate free stuff for yourself. As an example, I have this rotisserie chicken addiction right now. I've been getting rotisserie chicken from every possible restaurant, period. And right now, the patio in the suburbs and Costco chicken are neck and neck, just so you know. And so a buddy of mine posted a rotisserie chicken that he's cooking in his own house. And so I simply went to Facebook and said, who has one of these things laying around that they are not using anymore, that I'll pay for shipping if you just ship it to me, because it's wasted in your house. And so one is coming, I kid you not, and I'm simply paying for the shipping.
That's hysterical. All right, we're gonna do a little like speed round here. So I'm gonna ask a couple questions in your area, topic, or expertise, and I'm looking for just a quick 30-second answer on each of these. So we're gonna start with Rebecca. We're gonna start with social media because I think right now that's where everybody's focusing on. They feel like they have to be on social media in the current environment. So first off, the first question is, Rebecca, how long did it take you to build up what you would consider a decent following?
To be honest, I was on there every day, every single day. And so I was noticing engagement and following pretty quickly. The 14,000, did happen over time. I've had that account for 4 years now. But I did notice with, consistent posting, consistent branding, engaging with people constantly, and just sharing content that I thought they would be interested in, the following did build. I think the biggest struggle agents have is that they're just not consistent with it. They might throw something up there and then, be done with it. And you really have to make it a consistent part of your schedule.
How often are you posting?
So my main platform is Instagram, as I've mentioned. I saw someone asked on here what my Instagram name is. It's RebeccaDonatelli.Realtor, so you guys know. I am posting on my feed maybe 3 to 4 times every week. And then on my Instagram story, I'm there every single day because I want to stay top of mind and share with people what I've been up to.
Okay. And then, of course, the obvious question is, do you do anything outside of social media for advertising or branding?
To be honest, not really. My team, I encourage my agents to go to networking events. Now, obviously, we cannot, so we're not doing that now. But under normal circumstances, we do that, and that has helped build our team name, our brand as well. But it's really social media, and the beauty of it is that I have not spent a dime on any of it. I did one Instagram ad one time for $30. I joke that I feel like I could have spent that $30 better at Starbucks. But and I know some agents that are great with Facebook and Instagram ads. It's just not my thing. So the beauty of it is that I'm able to market myself on there and not spend any money, and the return is crazy. So. And then,
what do you think is the biggest thing that sets you apart on Instagram?
For me, it's really just been focusing on that specific brand. In Northeast Ohio market that I'm in, every buyer and seller has over 8,000 choices of agents they can work with, right? So when I go to a buyer listing consultation, I want them to know who I am. And a lot of them do reach out through social media. So they already have gotten to know me a little bit before I walk in the door. And so the key is really just sharing who you are. It's like Mabel said, just be yourself, be genuine, be real. It's not about the real estate sales. I have a top producing team here in Cleveland, Ohio, and you don't even really see my sales on social because that's not what I want people to know. I want them to know me. I want them to know my love for coffee and tag me in their coffee posts and tell me what the latest coffee shop is in Cleveland so I could go check it out. And so it's really just building a brand that will set me apart from the other 8,000 agents here in my market.
Excellent. All right, Mabel, again, looking for 30-second, actually 15-second answers at this point. Where did you get started in your involvement first? Where did you start?
Women's Council of Realtors. That's where I started in Chicago.
Awesome,
so that's
awesome.
Where my leadership roots are.
And then how did it progress? What was after that?
Okay, so then after that, so Women's Council of Realtors. Then I decided to just do general volunteering, and there was an opportunity after the levees decimated New Orleans. I wanted to go. So I went, and there was going to be a conference at the same time. So I went down there and I worked with Habitat for Humanity for a week, and with 15 strangers from all over the country, and I got to know them, and it was really quite the experience. I was invited to a car dinner. People got to know me. I told them, and they were, and Leanne Luckett, who does all the awardees, said, "Oh my gosh, I just found out my friend has been doing all this work with Habitat for Humanity this past week." And, I got up, I did I told them what I did. Some of the work that we did was working and gutting houses for seniors and disabled in St. Bernard Parish. So then after that, I was asked to join the board. I was actually appointed, which I thought was kind of like, okay, because somebody was leaving, and so I came in. I thought the board was really dry. I thought this is really boring. Oh my God, what are we going to do here? Then we did a strategic planning session, and that was it. And then I was hooked. I was like, okay, this is what it's about. I want to be here to decide, like the color of the carpet. I want to be here about how we're going to do and improve our members' lives. This is really what it's about. So from there, that's what I did. But I took initiative. I think people didn't, in a sense, for Women's Council, I was asked. And then after that, I just took a lot of initiative. So I went to Illinois Realtors, and it was in Peoria. Drove up there. I didn't know what to expect, just went. Then I was on Illinois Realtor meetings. Then, for NAR, I was on the board. I was like, well, they're going to DC. I should go. I'm on the board. Went on my dime, went to the May meetings. And, even the AE readers was like, that's amazing that you came here. You didn't have to come here. I was like, well, if I'm in, I'm all in. I'm not going to be here like half-assing it. I don't know if that's going to get bleeped or not. But anyway, so... You know what I mean?
Once again, honest.
Like, if you're going to do it.
It was her and not me.
Okay. If you're going to do it, do it. Be all in. Participate at every level. Find out why are they going to the May meetings? What's going on in Peoria? What's happening in Springfield? Don't half-ass it. Once you say yes to volunteering and you're going to be part of the board or a committee, commit. Because you know what? It's the best experience ever. Because the thing is, you grow in that experience, and then you get to network with people, and guess what? Then you get referrals from all over the country. I get referrals from Spain, from New Zealand. I mean, that's the whole thing, right? That's the cool thing about it. The other cool thing is you're doing a lot of great stuff that helps the members and shapes the association that impacts everyday people's lives, including 60 million homeowners that are out there.
Absolutely. So we're going to go to Sam. We're going to put Sam at a 10 second. 10 seconds, Sam. 10 seconds.
What do you want?
You kind of touched on the first one, was what's your personal touch for branding and marketing already. But out of all of those personal little touches, which one is your favorite?
So one of the things that I highly encourage us to do is we're so heavy into this digital world, in this digital space, and have been since the onset of social media. What I encourage us doing is letting it be a roadmap. So for example, my parents, they just had to put their dog down. If it wasn't my parents, I would take that nugget of information, I'd take it offline, I'd have a custom something adorable and sweet made and sent to them. So take a relationship that's sharing us information digitally, take it offline, actually engage with the humanity of that experience in that moment that's happening. And interestingly enough, what happens a lot of times is it comes full circle back online, where they show this touching, wonderful item that was received because somebody cared about them. So it's important to bridge that, that river of the life and spaces that we play in, is to make sure that they intertwine and you're not just living in the world of social media. Take it offline.
It's a great answer. Look at it. She got it right on the money when I started counting her down. All right. So I do want to touch, we had a conversation about cold calling. Don't forget, when you do cold calling, do check for the do not call list, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you're not calling someone that is on the do not call list. We're getting really close to the 3 o'clock deadline, but I think if our panelists can stick around for 10, 15 minutes, I don't know how many questions we got built up. Let's take some questions from the audience. Megan, what do you have?
Okay, so one important question that was brought up, trying to bring it back to where we are currently, in our current role and pandemic that we've got going on right now, how are you shifting your brands or voices to respond to how things are right now? So I guess it's relevant to any of it.
How are you shifting your brands currently? Let's go ahead. Sam, you got your hand up. Let's go with Sam.
Yeah, so like Rebecca as well, I know that we travel and speak quite a bit, and we're a bit grounded in that regard. And watching everyone else around us offering free content and free information and free engagement, I found myself right in that wheelhouse too. So the presentations that I would be traveling to give, we are absolutely sharing. I'm doing 2 or 3 of them a week sometime, and they sometimes are an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours or more in just deliverable content to help raise the bar of our peers around us.
Very cool. Anybody got anything to add to that?
Yeah, actually, I did a video for NAR on doing remote showings, virtual showings, which is if you go to nar.realtor or to YouTube and just look at National Association of Realtors, it's on there. I've been doing virtual showings, remote showings for over 5 years. So for me, when they said you need to go remote, I was like, that's not a big deal. Because I've already been doing it. Have I done transactions that way? Absolutely. I have clients who had a problem. Their problem was, I don't want to miss an opportunity, and I travel a lot. How is it that I'll be able to actually see property, not miss out on something, especially in a community or in a time where you have very tight inventories and not really enough? And I said, easy. I'll go do the showing. You stay at your desktop wherever you're at in the world. We'll figure out a time zone, and I'll show it to you. And They're like, seriously? I'm like, yes. Let's figure out the app. Do you have WhatsApp? Do you have Google Hangouts? Do you have Skype? Let me know what you have. So I simplified it for them. If you watch the video, there's 3 tips on there. Really, basically, it's adapt to your client with regards to what app they use. Make it easy. It's about them. Number 2, communicate size, space, and time, especially if it's vacant, doesn't really work out. So you need to find really good verbal cues, references to talk about volume, space, size, even in reference to where they live. If you see where they live, say, hey, that bedroom, your bedroom is the same, this room is the same size as your bedroom, stuff like that. The other one is debrief. So at the end, I talk to them, I ask them about their experience, if they want to continue. And I'll tell you what, I had a client, traveled a lot, she was home for the weekend, she didn't want to go out. She sat on her couch drinking wine while I did the 3 showings, and she was just like, this is awesome. And I was like, yeah. And every time she talks to me, that's how she wants to do it, remotely. So once you start that way, it's basically, that's the relationship you've developed with that individual, and they want to keep it that way. They find it that they can still see you, they can talk to you, engage with you. So for me, with regards to this pandemic, I would say if you're an essential worker or not, in Illinois, we follow the guidelines, especially of the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, with just no more than 4 people at a showing. Do it remotely if you can. And on top of that, I'm doing 3D tours. So the thing is, how are you adapting? How are you pivoting? And are you being a solutions officer for the person who's selling? And are you also that same solutions officer for somebody who's buying? Like I said, do buyer consultations online. Whatever you're doing, if you can do it remotely, do it. There is a way of doing it and having wonderful success.
Megan, what else we got for questions?
Okay, so now more than ever, it's important to be talking to your sphere across all of your platforms. So how are you guys utilizing content and branding that is welcoming and relevant to right now? What kind of things are you posting that are helping your clients in your sphere with current world events?
We'll start with Rebecca on this one.
Yeah, this is kind of on the last question and then also on this question, kind of a mix. One thing that I've been doing is trying to post more content of things that I'm doing at home, just to relate to everyone that's watching that's also at home. A great example is I challenged one of my friends to a baking challenge. This was last week or the week before. I don't even know what day it is. So, and I shared it and I invited anyone who followed me to join in on the baking challenge. So a realtor out of California shared it. She posted she was baking, tagged me. One of her friends said, hey, I happen to be looking for a realtor in Cleveland to buy 3 investment properties. Can you hook me up? And now this investor is working with me to find 3 properties from a baking challenge that I shared. So just sharing things that are relatable, and then also just being real about what's happening in the market. Here, it's still pretty busy in Northeast Ohio. And, I'm just being real and being honest. And I feel more connected to my sphere and my clients than ever before, because now I'm forced to be chatting with them even more. And so I feel more connected to my clients. I'm just staying in constant contact with them.
Excellent. Mabel, you had additional stuff you wanted to add?
I think really pretty much, follow the guidelines, right? And keep yourself safe. And, this is a public health crisis. And it's not of our doing. The thing is, also don't feel paralyzed, because some people do feel paralyzed. I received this question last week from Latin American brokers. And I thought that was really quite the moment where somebody became that vulnerable to actually say, I feel paralyzed, what can I do? Well, the thing is, everything that you were doing, it's understandable. Everything you were doing on a daily basis has stopped and it's ceased. especially if you're a person that is into a schedule and is very regulated. So, my thing is meditate, pray, whatever. You got to center yourself first. Secondly, you need to come up with a plan. Just plan to do and accomplish one thing the next day. Write it down, accomplish it. The next day, 2 more things. The following day, 3 more things. Start readapting the schedule that you have to something now that will work for you, and keep pieces of that original schedule that you'll be able to do easily from home. So I think you've got to give people direction, and right now, even our clients need direction. So if you have pivoted and adapted into this environment, wonderful. But we're all experiencing this together and experiencing it in very different ways. So we have to be cognizant of other people. And because they're experiencing it in different ways, we can't discount what they're feeling. We have to acknowledge it and then give them some solutions. And that's really how I see it. It's adapting yourself, but then also bringing people along with you into this online community where they don't feel so alone. And really, essentially, I think it's going to be better for them, right? If you give them an outlet, then they're going to be like, okay, I'm okay now. I did the 2 things, the 3 things, the 4 things. I'm now coming back. I don't feel so paralyzed. But we do have to give direction. We are leaders. Let's give direction.
I agree. One of the things I saw was, with a restaurant, all right, you got a chance to have a meal that night, and no one's coming into their business. So they have a missed opportunity. This is not missed opportunities for what we do. This is opportunities that are just put on pause. They may be on pause for 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months, but there's no missed opportunities for real estate when it comes to this. Sam, go ahead.
I was going to, in the state that we're in right now, wholeheartedly believe empathy and compassion have to be sort of top of mind at all times, because everyone is at a different place in their own personal roller coaster of it all. I feel like one of the things that we can do right now, and one of the things that I've been doing is this access to Zoom. Like, I pay for the $14.99 a month, for lack of a better term, the one step up. And there are certain things you can do, like customizable backgrounds, of course, which is super fun. I host on a minimum 3 Zoom events a week that are just my own, meaning it's like an open forum. So on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I offer this afternoon delight with a customizable tiny URL. So I can mark it every week, and it's the same tiny URL to get you into that room each and every time you might want to come and engage. On Saturdays, I host a crafts and cocktails where everyone can hang out with me while I spend a minimum of 2 hours working on my paint by numbers adult painting, because I'm not an artist. And it's a space to just, step out of your solo environment, engage with other humanity, and know that it's going to be me just being me in that space the whole time, right? So a little bit of humor, a little bit of sarcasm. We're going to have special guests this coming Tuesday and Thursday in my afternoon delight, which is 1:30 Central Time. And it's a tiny URL, afternoon-delight. We're super simplified in how this works. But I could see us as realtors creating our own private, right, in Zoom. You can have your own private meeting. So if I wanted to invite Rebecca to a private meeting right now, I have a tiny URL, which is tinyurl.com/Zoom with Sam. And it takes you right into a very private Sam meeting. And all you need is a password from me. So I've also created it where my phone number is the event ID. So if I'm like, Mabel, I'd like to talk to you at 3, if that's okay, just log in with my cell phone number and here's the password. And now we're in a private Zoom together, and I can lock everyone else out. So I love the ability to use like Instagram, social media, Twitter, anywhere you're doing it, to invite your clients, customers, to have some personal engagement with you, either in this social created forum where there's group engagement or this individual engagement. And I'm not a live phone person just by trade. But I love this face-to-face Zoom relationship that we're able to have. I need that visual content. So if you're not in front of me physically, I work better in a space where you're in front of me virtually. And so I've always been this paperless, virtual work, remote play kid. So I like to tease everyone, welcome to my sandbox, because this is what I've been doing, my entire career as much as possible. And so this doesn't feel very different to me at all. It's more like a staycation. where I'm choosing to work from home instead of choosing to work from all of my favorite locations around the city. I get to visit people in their locations around the country and the globe in the comforts of their own home. So there's a lot of powerful engagement and healthy ways to look at this. And if you're ever struggling, have a tight circle of a tribe that you can reach out to and be like, listen, I'm really struggling today. Can you get me out of this hump or glump? And you'd be surprised how awesome it is for people to be that person for you.
Eddie, can I add something?
Yeah,
I mean,
go ahead.
also, this is a great time to get education for yourself. There's Right Tools right now with NAR, where you can get an ePro certification. There's also telemedicine. Whoever did not sign up, it was limited, but through telemedicine, I mean, you had 2 free months with NAR. So start leveraging. I mean, great content from Rebecca, from Sam. There's so many resources online. I mean, what I've been sharing is really about SBA, the loans, which, by the way, they're going to fund again another $250 billion into Paycheck Protection and another $50 billion into other SBA loans. So, you know, that's the kind of stuff I guess I've been sharing with my realtor community, with my clients. It's really been about, are you Fannie or Freddie loan? Because if you're a GSE sponsored loan, guess what? Call your servicer, because you can get a forbearance. That's the kind of stuff that we can be sharing, right? That's an instant phone call for somebody that you did a piece of business with in the last couple of years and say, hey, I'm checking in on you, which is so important. Absolutely empathy. Find out how are they experiencing this pandemic, and then give them something like, hey, did you know? And let's find out. I'm sitting here at my laptop. Let's see if your loan is. If not, I'll send you the link and you can check it out for yourself and find out if you can go ahead and make that phone call so that you have some forbearance for the next 3 months, 6 months, year, depending, right? Think about that information that you're sharing with your clients. Isn't that powerful? I mean, that you're telling them how you can protect them, their asset, and that they won't go into foreclosure.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, the information aspect that we touched on is huge too, because I know personally, right now the country, and the big message we have to keep out there is, it's not 2008, it's 9/11. It's not a 2008 event, it's a 9/11 event. Over 50% of the market has 50% equity in the houses right now. People aren't going to be walking away from a home they have, you know, equity in. So we're going to do one more question, Megan. Give us a good one.
Okay, well, I've got a good one and then a short one. So
good one and a short one. Give us
one
both.
Really quick question. And
okay.
This was from Andrew Romano, and he's asking if the panelists recommend having both a personal Instagram and a business one. Or...
I was going to get that one, yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead. And what was the other one?
That's Rebecca for sure.
Yeah. And then the other one was, can the panelists share their ideas for what the participants can use when the virus is over regarding business? So do you guys have a game plan in place? Do you have things that you know you're going to do right away once you can all go back out? What does that look like?
So let's start with the Instagram, personal or business, Rebecca. What's your recommendation?
So I still have a personal profile. I really don't utilize it that much, but I recommend having definitely something separate for your business and then implementing some personal things. You know, be cautious about how personal you're getting. If I share a location that I'm at, I don't share the exact location until after I've left for safety purposes. There are certain things that I might not share. If you have kids, be cautious of, you know, how much you're sharing about them. But I definitely recommend, you know, having two and then implementing some personal into the business. It just depends on how personal you want to get. If you're getting pretty personal, I would say keep that separate, maybe a private profile.
So your Instagram account does not automatically feed into your business Facebook page then right now?
So actually, mine is an actual business page. I'll be totally honest. The only reason I switched from a regular profile to a business is because at the end of 2018, another Rebecca Donatelli got her license in Cleveland, Ohio. So, and her office is half a mile away from my office. And so my Instagram is, you know, where my whole business is. And so I wanted to make sure through Instagram, people could contact me and get the right Rebecca Donatelli. So you can email and call me from the business profile. So that's one of the reasons I really love having it. It does feed to my Facebook page, but I don't really use that feature too much. I post separately on the two platforms.
Okay, and then since we're talking to you right now, finishing up, what is your game plan the second we're all released out of lockdown and, the fences are open and we're off to the races?
Yeah, I mean, I think things will definitely get a little crazy once things kind of go back to normal. I say that,
As normal as it can be.
Yeah, right, as normal as it could be. Kind of when the dust settles, if you will, and things go back. I do think it's going to be kind of chaotic, and so I'm trying to prep my clients and my team right now just to say, we need to come up with some kind of strategy. I'll be honest, things are still busy here, whether we're doing things virtually or in-person showings, being safe and obviously following, CDC guidelines and things like that. But just really trying to prep everyone as much as possible, kind of when the dust settles, I think.
Mabel, what is your game plan when the gates are open and we're released to the public?
Well, when the gates are open, I think we're going to have a hybrid culture where there's physical and digital, and that's basically it. And now these are the options that we're going to offer our clients. So essentially, we can't go really back to what we were doing before. We're just going to go back to doing it maybe a different way, right? We're going to still sell. We're still going to list. We're going to meet with clients. But now it's going to be optional and it's going to be on them to decide whether they want a physical meeting or they want to do something digitally, period. Even when we host meetings, even when we do anything, right now we're finding that some people are highly productive individuals, highly productive because of this. And to then now say, yeah, we're not going to do it anymore, I think is really kind of silly. I think we have to look at, we cannot go back to who we were. We are now very different. Also, the way that we interact in the physical world, I think some people are still going to have that reticence about, I don't know if I want to hug you or kiss you. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'm just going to do this, or I'm going to salute you or something, right? But as far as from my business practice, honestly, it's going to be a hybrid. I mean, I'm like a duck to water to this, and I'm just hoping everyone wants to do everything digitally because I tell you what, it is highly efficient. Highly efficient. Yep. Imagine they don't have to get in their car and spend 30 minutes driving to you. They're where they are. You do your meeting, it's over. They actually gained 1 hour that they can use for their own personal time, right? Think about a listing presentation, just do the same thing, right? Just like my client got it, sitting at her couch, drinking wine while I did the showing. I'm good with that. We'll see more 3D tours. So really, I think it's going to be an adoption and it's going to be a hybrid. And we'll be able to offer our clients options, whether they want to have a physical relationship or a digital relationship, or both at the same time.
Absolutely. Sam, I will give you the last word.
I agree with Mabel wholeheartedly. To me, this has made it very clear how much technology can add efficiencies into our lives and our world. I've been sort of that agent that always wanted to, I never liked being late. So I'd be outside of your house down the block so you didn't see me an hour before my listing presentation anyway, putting last minute touches on final research so that when I walked in the door, it was timely data, like a new listing just went on 5 minutes ago. I'd know that intel. So I feel like I'm not going to do a whole lot different than what I was doing before and I'm doing now. I think I'll incorporate more Zoom conversations because the ability to get more done in your day because of the less that we're out there physically in a holding pattern, waiting to get from A to B to C. I find this has sort of been a game changer for the people on the other side because I've always been playing in these spaces. What I love now is there are more people engaged in it in a way that's most meaningful for me. So I get to be my authentic self and I get to bring people into the space that weren't into the same space before, but now they're comfortable in it because the pandemic has opened the door and everyone's eyes to things a little bit differently. And so I'm madly in love with this technology that we've got available at our fingertips and that we can take with us anywhere in the world and set up shop and start working. So I expect to make a trip to Florida or something for a couple of weeks to work remote, to enjoy some actual beautiful weather and not the confines of my condo. And I really look forward to getting back into speaking in front of large audiences and seeing my peers from around the country sort of face to face. I'm a huge freaking hugger, like known for being a extended hugger, making some people uncomfortable, which is the intention. Wait till they want to release first. It's like a catch and release program. And so I'm longing for hugs in a really, really big way. So watch out if you're in my space. But I will say this, I will be for sure a cautious re-engager back into our society, just because I think of all of the science behind everything that I see and internalize. I think we need to tread very carefully about just how quickly we go back into, like, I'm not going to a concert probably in the next handful of years. But just being careful and cautious and paying attention to the medical establishment's guidance and advice as we come out of this slowly.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, we are way past 3 o'clock, and I know you guys all have jam-packed schedules and a lot of things to get done. So I want to wrap this up with a huge thank you to Rebecca, Mabel, and Sam for joining us today. Originally, this event was planned, and I'm glad we were able to keep it moving forward and going on virtually. So on behalf of Illinois YPN and the Illinois Realtors, thank you so much for doing this virtually and just delivering great content. Just a couple quick notes. You guys can connect with the Illinois YPN on Facebook at Illinois YPN. You also can connect on Instagram at Illinois Realtors. These are great channels that are giving up a lot of data, a lot of information of everything that's going on. For our Illinois realtors, if you have not done so yet, check out the recently released Real Out web series that's addressing the Illinois realtors' legal changes in our license law that our legal team put together. It's a good time to get yourself up to date and up to speed on the Illinois Real Estate License Act. There are 6 episodes for that. And lastly, as you connect with us on Facebook and Instagram, subscribe to the Illinois Realtors podcast, where our YPN has put out 6 episodes to date. Many of the episodes cover everyday topics for realtors, not just those in Illinois. So it's a great series, and it's a great series to go back and listen to old stuff because it's relevant content even in today's things of what's going on. I know we just did one that was, professional courtesies, making sure the property's locked when you leave, making sure that the lockbox is in a visible space, things along those. So that being said, again, a thank you to all our participants, and of course, thank you for staff for pulling off this amazing event. And that would conclude our webinar for today. And I hope you guys have an amazing day. Have a good one all.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye, guys.